The playoffs are finally here for the first season of Bubby's Ultimate Battle League, and we're going against our week one opponent, Grandmaster D-Ray, coach of the San Diego Spirits. That was a very close and exciting week one match. Both coaches laid it all on the line, so it's going to be very interesting, Tyler, to see how both coaches prepare for this game. But before we dive into the teams, let's look at the playoff matchups.
Yeah, John, as we expected, Playmore earning the 3 seed. We do not see that matchup from the end of the regular season, the rematch with the Nightshaders up at the 7 seed. We could see that down the line if they're able to pull off the upset against Uzi in that number 2 seed. But as we know, John, this is a league regardless of what seed you're at. If you made this top 8, those 8 teams are going to have a chance to win a championship, and that shows in the opponent we've got today.
Absolutely, Tyler, and we can't even look too far ahead as the team we're going against. We already know it's scary, but looking at it again, I would not be shocked if we saw the same 6 Pokemon. Even if there was a change-up, there are a lot of scary things. I mean, Terra Marini, Tyler, what do we have to take on threats like that?
Well, what we don't have, as you can see from the team on the screen, or well, as you can't see from the team on the screen, is Dragonite not making the trip for this battle. Coach really thought there was going to be a lot of prep from the other side that went into dealing with Dragonite, decided not to bring it, but Spiky Joe, or as I should say for this battle, Spiky him, is here for the playoff opener. If you want to know the entire reasoning for the team that we're bringing for this battle, you can find it in the extended team builder. It's linked in the description below. But for now, let's see what the opponent brought.
It's finally here, Tyler. It's time for our first big playoff game, do or die. And we don't see Weavile. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. The coach with a big reaction. One of the scarier Pokemon in the format, Tyler, and if I'm correct, that was the one Pokemon on the opponent's team that naturally outsped Greninja. So Choice Band Greninja looking even more exciting. No Terra Marini. What Terras are we looking at instead?
On the other side, there are 2 options. This is going to be a fun battle because both teams brought 2 Terra captains, Terra Ghost Keldeo and Terra Water Vikavolt. Been expected both of those to be the case, so probably some happiness already coming into the battle once you got that news. On our side, Terrafire Superior and Terra Ghost Volcanion, so we have no idea who it's going to be that pulls the Terra for either side of this battle.
We do know what the lead is going to be, which is exciting, but even more exciting, Tyler, is the sponsor of this team, as always, play-more.store. If you haven't already picked up a Bubby, what are you doing? We still got a few left, but most excitingly, I had a talk with the people high up at Play More, and we have new merch on the way. It won't be ready for the end of this season, but keep your eyes out, be ready, because when it drops, it's going to be pretty special. But enough of that, Tyler. It's time to get into the big battle.
Well, Ben told us that the lead was going to be Volcanion on our side, John, and there were only a couple scenarios where he would not immediately start this battle with Overheat. That is not one of them, so I can tell you with a lot of confidence that the first move we choose in this battle is going to be Overheat.
I mean, it should be. I would have loved to kind of see the Steam Eruption immediately, but it is an interesting spot as I feel like this Diancie's probably gonna want to go for hazards immediately. So with this Overheat, instead of going into something like Greninja, maybe we do see the Iron Treads, force it out, Rapid Spin to get rid of the hazards. But I don't know, part of me is also like, man, maybe you just douse the rock. But there is the thought that if the opponent is worried about the rock being doused, switches into Latios, we go for Overheat, and then all of a sudden we bring in Greninja, everyone's happy. There's a lot that could happen here, but I don't know. You see the rock, and I just want it to be, you know, like cold and wet and unhappy.
When I think what Ben knows, and it's the luxury of the eject pack with this aggressive start of whatever he does, you get to switch out and reset if it's not the right Pokemon taking that Overheat. Because Dragonite is not in this battle, there's not as much of a need to deal with the Diancie immediately. That being said, it could still be very annoying throughout this entire battle.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, oh my gosh, I was expecting the Latios to come in here. It just felt like that would be the Pokemon to switch in every single time. So much damage against the Keldeo with that Overheat. And this is why this is always the best strategy, you know, from my seat, you know, it's like, oh man, Diancie, if it stays and gets hazards up, that would be annoying. Of course, that was never going to happen, but because of the beauty, as you said, you know, with the eject pack, even though it wasn't what I necessarily expected, it does allow the coach to get into the perfect Pokemon, and it's not in a great spot with Keldeo. Now, Superior is the win con, so it is a little scary to see it this early on, but we know this threatens his team in such a big way, and there's no Weavile, Tyler.
Yeah, I think the big thing there, I was noting the damage because Ben had put in his notes that he thought there was a chance that this was an Assault Vest Keldeo, and I think that damage pretty much tells us that that's not the case at all here. So we talked about this last battle, how it felt like such a weird matchup early on, but there was so much information gathering happening in the first few turns. They're been able to not only execute his plan from the start, but also able to get some information ruling out that Assault Vest. I think a perfect turn one for Ben, and why I love these battles that we get into, where Ben has things set in stone of in this spot, I'm clicking this button, and that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really beautiful. You never know what the opponent really is predicting on that other side. You know, it's interesting that Diancie lead, you know, just with how these teams have faced off. I don't know, kind of peculiar. I wasn't really expecting that. Kind of a straightforward get rocks up lead. And because, you know, the opponent didn't really stick to their guns with that, immediately on the back foot, which is why I kind of thought there was a chance they could stay in. But now we have the Keldeo with the Terra Ghost. Unless this is Scarf Tyler, I have to assume it's going down to the Leaf Storm damage, right? Oh! Lives with a Sliver! Wow! And the crits! Man, just with the overheat damage, it seemed like Leaf Storm had a chance to kill. It was so clear we were going to outspeed. Now, the beauty here, Tyler, is we're not going to miss the next move because we can easily go for the Dragon Pulse, expecting, you know, maybe a Latias switch in or this thing to stay in. It could go for Vacuum Wave to get a little priority, but that's not going to be enough to kill. So we're in a fine spot. It's just unfortunate. We should be a lot healthier. Now, could go for a really cheeky Synthesis here. That is definitely an option. But I do feel like it might make the most sense to keep pressure on.
Yeah, they're a turn that completely flips because of getting that Citrus Berry to trigger more information onto the other side. Unfortunately, Wide Lens is not carrying the Wide Lens, which I yelled about for the last 25% of the last battle. I still don't hate this spot for Ben. I think to your point earlier about Scizor, I think that is absolutely the switch that we have to see here. In which case, it would not surprise me if after all the talk, John, about what Terras we would actually see used in this battle, if within the first 3 or 4 turns, we've already had the Terras used up, and that's exactly what we're going to see here.
Yeah, it is really, really interesting with how Ben has played this battle. His strategy has just been so perfect that he's gotten to this unbelievably good spot where he can play a little bit safer. Go for the Leaf Storm. You're either killing the Keldeo or, you know, you're just getting to a free +4. Now Superior is unbelievably terrifying against the opponent's team. And because of that, you can Terra, Fire, a little bit of a defensive strategy there, and then heal up, really see what the Scizor wants to do. I am a little bit nervous that this could be like a Choice Banded Scizor that really does a lot of damage with it staying in, but I don't know if there's anything we should be too worried about.
Well, and if it's banded,
which it is.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a spot for Ben where either the Scizor just you stay in and keep bullet punching and hope that Ben does not decide to heal, or he's going to, I mean, regardless, I think he's going to be able to heal the Superior all the way up to full. It's just going to come down to then where does the opponent pivot to from here.
Now, it is interesting, or not interesting, it's important to note that Synthesis, there's only 7 of them, and I've been in this spot many times before. Once you get to number 2, you can't complain about a crit. You really can't. You just, once you get into this battle and you're doing this, yeah, you just, you're really asking for it. Now, I'm not saying that what Ben is doing is a bad strategy. It's just it's not my favorite place to be. You know, Pokemon, there's so much strategy. There's so much behind every decision. But at this point, you really just are rolling dice. Am I going to be able to click this button enough that when I finally go for the attacking move, I'll have the maximum amount of HP? It is working out, thankfully. It should work out. The odds are in Ben's favor, but man, it's a very scary place to be. But here might be a good spot just to go for the attacking move. Obviously, we're not at full. I don't know if we need that extra sliver of health. And just getting that guaranteed kill here and seeing what they bring in feels really good, because I don't know what we'd be worried about after it. Like what we need to be at the maximum amount of health for.
Yeah, I know a lot of what Ben told us about Superior. The main question mark would be dealing with Terapagos, and he really wanted to be in a spot to where Superior would not have to face off against it until that ability was broken, which it's got multi-scale on steroids of while it's at full health, every move is not very effective. So I don't know that that's going to be the switch for the opponent here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Keldeo again to force some action on either side, and that's what we get. So regardless, it was going to put Ben in a place to where something was going to have to happen. I think this is the better of the two scenarios, because Terapagos, because of that ability, it's already pretty bulky once it activates its first ability to switch into the different form. Here, I also agree with this for Ben. Just pick up the kill, move on, force Terapagos out there however you have to, so you can start getting that chip on it and have a better chance to deal with it overall.
Yeah, I really, really do love this spot. It's an odd one. You know, I feel like both coaches kind of, won that exchange in their different ways. You know, obviously our opponent on the back foot, but is able to save the Scizor, bring this thing in. Instead of losing Scizor, you lose the Keldeo. Keldeo still gets good damage off with the Vacuum Wave. So I think it really worked out for both sides. I would have loved to see the Scizor go down, honestly, but I'm still really happy with this spot. So it was kind of a weird few turns where not a lot of crazy things happened.
There it is.
Yep, this is what we expected to see. And I'm pretty confident we're going to have to see Ben switch out with how much we want to keep Superior for the end game, unless Ben feels like this is a chance just to break through.
And so much of the strategy coming in, as I mentioned, was outside of Superior. How do we deal with this thing? And when it has come to dealing with the opponent's best Pokemon, routinely our best option and most annoying option for the opponent has been Screamtail. So we'll see if we end up in that spot. I think Ben has to be confident here with the numbers that he's not in range to take a kill in this spot. And if Ben knows that, I'm going to assume the opponent knows that as well.
Yeah, no, that would make the absolute most sense. It's always terrifying in our spots to see the win con this early on being aggressive. Yeah. But just because it's the win con doesn't mean it's the only way to win. And now with the rapid spin, I assume that means Terapagos can outspeed this next turn.
Yeah, smart move there, knowing that you're not going to be able to pick up the kill, I would assume, with an Earth Power.
Yep.
And Ben, he's got that in his mind here of what the move is going to be. Really good move to put the pressure on Ben of, all right, you switch this thing out. Even though you know what move is coming, there's really not much you can do to avoid taking this damage.
Yeah, just like before, I feel like both opponents making really, really good plays in that position. I still think we have the upper hand, but this is not going to be an easy battle. Superior looked poised to sweep. Really impressed with how our opponent was able to swing the battle back into kind of a neutral spot. But Puddin is a really, really nice Pokemon to have here. The opponent does not want to switch into Thunder Wave one after another. And if Ben makes the right read, maybe a free Stealth Rocks here? Pretty good.
Oh,
not exactly what I wanted to see.
The one debate on this moveset was whether or not to bring Encore.
Yep.
And how much this battle would have just shifted with Encore to lock that in. Now, you do get the rocks up to, in theory, force a rapid spin to happen at some point. But this is a Pokemon that we talk so much about, defensively, because it has the ability.
Yep.
But offensively, especially now, special defense boost makes it ridiculously bulky naturally, even without the ability. This thing is going to be able to output some damage offensively. Thankfully, the Thunder Wave was the replacement for Encore, which at least puts Ben in a spot where he's able to handle that.
Yeah, Thunder Wave it's a really, really, really good move. It's one of those moves where you have a guarantee and then you have a chance of tomfoolery. And you know what? If we could get some tomfoolery on this switch into Iron Treads, it really would flip the battle. I mean, Tropicos is neutered in a pretty big way. It's terrifying. We really do not want to take many of those. Terra Starstorm, I think is what it's called. Also, the outfit, I'm just noticing the opponent. My God, he is ready for a playoff battle, but I digress. One of our 2 choice banded Pokemon in the battle here. This is big, and we do get the paralysis, the tomfoolery coming in clutch. And I think with the right prediction, Tyler, this could be another kill for the Beneral. I absolutely love where we're at right now.
Well, and now you've got the hacks fully in play. If they're going to stay in the rock slide with the possibility of the flinch, with the paralysis, there's also there's always the potential for a Vikavolt switch as well. I don't know that I would expect that in that spot, but this 100% the play, and there are 2 really good things that could happen in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 Levitate Pokemon on the other side. We have 2 super effective moves for each of them. Obviously, the Earthquake would be fantastic. You can't go for the Earthquake, of course. I'm glad he went for Rock Slide. Will it be the Vikavolt or will it be Latios? Joe Mama? Oh, wow. Joe Mama, get out of here. Oh, man, that is beautiful to see. That is defensive.
Well, all right, never mind. Joe, you can stick around.
We will outspeed. Let's be clear. I mean, I love Vikavolt. It's a very cool Pokemon. I mean, 145 special attack for an early route bug. Are you kidding me? But it's got -2 speed. That thing is very hampered in that way. Did not last long. Hello, goodbye. And now we remain in a really fantastic spot. But Tyler, I have to imagine the opponent has a few more tricks up their sleeve. And I was about to say, Latios, this Pokemon has to be ready to set up. I feel like this thing has to be ready to put in some work, as their options are going down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you know all about how dangerous Latios is. You don't need me to give a speech on this. This was, I've seen the videos. I mean, this thing was a prime threat in Draft League in your heyday, and the fear absolutely kicks in of knowing at any point you're a calm mind away from this battle completely shifting. I don't know that this is the spot where it's going to happen, but 100% the right move for Ben to try and get Spiky him out there and haze away any threat that pops up.
Yeah, no, I think that is absolutely the move here. You cannot mess around with the Lotties. They are just so reliable. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with the Mega Lotties right now. But it is definitely a scary mon. And anytime an opponent can bring in a potential setup sweeper, in for free after a Pokemon went down, is definitely a scary spot to be. The immediate Aura Sphere, I am wondering if this is maybe just, well, it's probably still Calm Mind, because I don't think it's Choice Lock, so I don't really know if that changes much. But with Spiky Him, H-I-M, look at this fella. I mean, this is where everything began, Tyler, so much fun. Before we realized Spiky Joe is about to be a pivotal Pokemon on the team. We started the fan club. There was no ulterior motives.
Nope, not at all.
And here we are.
No profits or anything like that.
The Healing Wish immediately.
We also did not. I don't know that we profited from that.
Ooh, that is really good on the opponent's side, Tyler. Not something we even imagined was going to take place.
That was not in the potential moveset that I know Ben was expecting for this battle. Because, I mean, as good of a Pokemon as Latios is, more often than not, you're looking at it as a potential win con. Here, it sets up the win con and healing up the Terrapagos. I mean, that was an incredible play in that position.
I was saying, just the way the battle was going, the opponent had to have another trick up their sleeve, and we saw exactly what it was. I wasn't too terrified with the Latios overall, but just the way they brought it in, it just felt like there was something I was missing.
Yeah.
Clearly we missed something. Now Justin is back, and while we have our entire team good to go, if there was any way for them to set up and sweep our team, it is Justin. So this is where the battle gets very scary. I still have a lot of faith in our positioning, our coach, everything going on. But it really went from, okay, what could they possibly have cooking to, oh God, oh no, oh God, oh no.
Do want to note too, just a small piece of information that we were able to gather from that. One of the possible items that Ben had on the Terapagos was the heavy-duty boots. It did not take any damage after the Healing Wish, so we know that we can rule those out of the equation. I don't know that that gives Ben any information on what the item actually is in this position, but it does create such a strange sequence because there, I think the entire plan was, all right, we're just going to sacrifice this to get the Terapagos healed up, and I think it then put both teams in a spot where it's kind of like, where do we go from here? It's kind of like just a full reset on this battle, and I'm very interested, to steal your term, it'll be an interesting stretch here over the next 2 or 3 turns to, again, just almost start this thing from scratch and see who's able to gain some momentum and get things moving, because it does feel like all of a sudden it's just been this big pause on everything that was happening before this point.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. And I mean, Ben he's really thinking about dousing the rock. I brought it up, like it's Steam Eruption. It just seems so fun to click against the Diancie. But I am really intrigued of like what kind of Diancie set, just the way it was led off with. I thought it was going to be like more of a bulky, old school standard Diancie, but maybe it is something a little bit crazier, you know, like maybe it was immediately trying to get a little wacky and wild. So we'll see. If it is Stealth Rocks, this is the switch. If it is a little bit more offensive, I mean, we could be putting Iron Treads in harm's way, but I do not mind a very aggressive play here at all.
Into Trick Room.
Into Trick Room, which does make one Scizor mix Scizor pants very, very, very frightening. Now, we can just go immediately for that Earthquake, and I don't think Scizor would have anything to one-shot Iron Treads. Now, I mean, if Diancie's able to get a lot of good damage off, you know, I definitely could be a part of the 2-shot, but I think this is a pretty safe and straightforward play. Trick Room is terrifying, but you just gotta wait it out. You know, once it's up in Draft League, one of the scarier things you can face, honestly, especially with, you know, we thought we won the Speed War, Tyler. We found out quickly, no, we did not.
Well, I think it puts the opponent in a spot here where very quickly the Diancie's role changes. Not great to do all that damage. I don't think the special defense drop matters at that point, but you pretty much know in that situation, both sides know what the calcs are here.
Yeah.
Now, Ben maybe hasn't given away enough information to show that Treads is choice banded, so the opponent may not have known that Earthquake was going to kill in that spot. But from Ben's perspective, Ben knew the damage that he was going to take in that spot. I don't know that the opponent, I don't know that it mattered too much for Diancie to be able to survive that turn, because once that Trick Room is set up, it's just about getting Scizor out there. We've seen multiple uses now of Pokemon where their entire role was to try to set something up for the Pokemon that followed it.
No, absolutely. And I mean, they were probably just expecting a steal move anyways. So, you know, the fact that it would have been kind of unfortunate for them if Earthquake did not kill. Hey, maybe that allows them to get a kill on the Iron Treads. We can switch around a little bit. So, you know, I feel like, again, it worked out for both opponents. We have to stay in, keep the pressure here. Brick Break, very easy, or very easily going to kill. But because we sacrificed Iron Treads, we prevented this thing from getting a Sword Stance up, and that is good. What is not good, Tyler, is the team is starting to get weaker, and it is more and more difficult to deal with this thing. Now, Puddin against the Scizor.
Well, Puddin ends up, if it's choice band, if it's locked into choice, if it is choice band 100%, then this forces you.
Oh, yeah.
I think it just straight up forces you out. I don't know that there's much that Scizor wants to do in this spot.
Do you think it would be choice band? I just, with the Trick Room, I guess it is. Huh.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, I think it must be. Well,
we saw that earlier, and it's one of those things where it's hard to tell. The multiple bullet punches.
Yeah.
As Superior was sitting there healing, it could have just been in that spot using bullet punches. You've been on the side of coaching as well. You might want to do that in that position to make Ben think that you were choice banded. It also could have been that it was 100% choice locked in to that position, but been able to take that knowledge, pretty sure at this point that it was proven correct, and use it to flip this thing, and because of all the switches taking place, eat away at this trick room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And get a paralysis in the process.
You know, there's things like Scizor. It used to be really popular back in the day, the old days, to put like a metal coat on it and actually hide the choice band so you can later set up a sword stance and kind of, you know, reverse sweep the opponent. So that's something that is, you know, you can always worry about. But also, you know, in a battle, we don't know the opponent's strategy, right? We see the Trick Room later into the battle. Vikavolt, definitely a Pokemon that was going to benefit from Trick Room. Probably a huge part of the game plan, went down so quickly. So now that we've seen like how things have unfolded, I feel a lot better about this end game as I'm just trying to figure out what could the opponent throw at us to really prevent what seems like it could be a very dominant win for the Benral, which would be very exciting. And it really does seem at this point that the opponent is running out of ways to get that victory. As at this point, Derwin's probably going down. They don't want to lose that multi-scale. And then it's just one against the entire crew, Tyler. Pretty incredible. So really, if we go all the way back to turn 1, Ben being able to force that Diancie out, overheat, get into the right positioning. It took so long for the opponent to get Trick Room going. I have to assume that was so much of the strategy, just really masterful stuff from the Benral.
Yeah, I think here, if nothing else, the threat clear from what Terapagos is going to have to do. We saw the Calm Mind earlier. It's going to have to try and put itself in a position to set up and do whatever it can. I do wonder what Ben does in this spot. If he does just go ahead and attack, break that ability, or try to pivot around and set something up. I think I would lean towards just attacking to break it, because you know there's a really good chance of just getting that Calm Mind on the other side, but it looks like he might be expecting something else here.
It's tough because you also want to get that Thunder Wave on this thing if possible, but you got to be worried about Rapid Spin setup. You got to be worried about the Calm Mind. I assume he's expecting Rapid Spin here. It's not Rapid Spin, but he does have, is this the Pokemon he has Haze on? Yes, it is the Pokemon he has Haze on. So, I mean, we didn't see the Rapid Spin. I'm not sure if Overquill will be able to outspeed. I don't know because of Trick Room sets. I assume
I think
not.
what it comes down to here is if the Earth Power kills Overquill, and if so, that puts you in a really scary spot with that Haze Pokemon gone, and that's what it does. And this just got a lot scarier. I wouldn't call it dire, but that might be the first misstep that the Benral has made in this battle. It may not cost, but it's at least given the opponent a window of life here.
Yeah, and at first I was ready to disagree, but my first thought was go into Puddin, get the Thunder Wave, and then we'll move
because
from there.
You still have this. It's hard to really say what the consequences are going to be.
Yeah,
and it was. I think Ben made a play that if it went like he wanted, it ends this battle 3-4 turns sooner.
Yeah.
I think because of what's happened now, this probably gets drawn out a bit more. Ben's still very clearly in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it was tough to predict. Is it the Rapid Spin or is it the Calm Mind? And you know what? I think at the end of the day, the fact that we haven't seen Rapid Spin, we get to outspeed, we get the Thunder Wave off, that's the most important thing, honestly. I wanted to see put in a little bit earlier to get that Thunder Wave off. It's still in. It's still going to happen. And as long as we're able to chip this thing down, I think we should still be fine. And honestly, this might just be the coach trying to farm another Bubby game-winning kill, which I would not mind. And we don't miss the Thunder Wave, thankfully.
It was never a possibility. If we over the course of the season, have we missed any moves ever? Like, have we even mentioned that as something that could happen? I can't remember that ever happening. If somebody could, in the comments, let us know if that's ever happened before. Don't. I wouldn't appreciate it.
Well, it would be odd, I was waiting, of course, to see what happens before I said anything about the move, potentially missing or hitting.
Naturally.
Right.
Yep.
And we would never do anything otherwise. So I think I am really with you.
No.
We've never done otherwise, and now we have broken the evil shell, and it just comes down to who do we want to survive a little bit longer? We need something to die so we can bring in the proper Pokemon. Who do we want to stick around? It is like kind of an interesting thing to throw out there. I mean, Volcanion, I
well,
think...
the rough part is we would always say Spiky Joe, or in this case, Spiky him.
Well...
but that is no longer an option. So, Bubby, your choice number 1.
No, Bubby needs... it was farming at first. Bubby's how we win this, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, but Bubby's choice number 1 to stay alive.
Yeah.
Everybody else, debate amongst yourselves. We'll let this be a team decision. We're about democracy. Yeah. You guys can figure it out yourselves. No input from us. Fortunately, we can't slip a revive in. So...
Well, that's... Yeah, I mean...
Superior.
But we're not
Superior,
cowards.
I'm sorry, buddy. No, not us. No.
No, and I do think this makes a lot of sense. I assume that Ben wanted to keep the Volcanion in the back just in case, you know, you have to bring it in for chip damage. You can then go for some brick breaks, which is not being slowed down, or it is not being hindered by the Calm Mines. We just need to be able to win this battle. Differential does not matter. I hate that in Draft League differential matters anywhere, because at the end of the day, you just gotta win the battle. Sacrifice every other Pokemon except Bubby. I do not care. We just need to win. And this really is a spot, Tyler, where some coaches could get cute trying to preserve an extra Pokemon. And there's just no reason. Whatever we have to do, we just gotta win. And I really like that. I'm saying that, and Ben's like, you know what? Maybe I do need a little bit more damage to guarantee the kill. He's doing some calcs. Yep. If he brings in Bubby, he's confident we kill. If he brings in the red line, we need a little bit more damage. And you know what? I love this. I think this is the right move in general. Better safe than sorry.
I think it's fair that Pudding gets to be the other Pokemon to survive, because I said it early on, when it comes to not just stopping the opponent's best Pokemon, but Ben, what are you? Yep, Ben, what? Why? Okay, that was frightening. Outside of just being our best stopper for the opponent's biggest threat, Pudding has been the most annoying possible Pokemon for the opponent's biggest threat, and that's exactly what it did in this battle. The Thunder Wave ended up being the big move to swing this thing. It ended up being a great decision for Ben to leave Encore behind, bring that Thunder Wave, and now Bubby's got a chance to clean this thing up, because thankfully the Benrill didn't run away from the battle before that last turn.
First season of Bubby's Ultimate Battle League. We drafted a frog for legitimate competitive reasons, and in the first playoff game, Claymore is getting a win, and Greninja cleaned up. We really couldn't have written anything better. It's so incredible. And if nothing else, Tyler, we made the playoffs, we won a game, and we did it in the most exciting fashion. And Tyler, the season is not over. We have a big battle, either a rematch against a team we made sure we would be ready for, or we will be going against Uzi, a very, very scary opponent. Either one of those battles will be incredibly exciting. And then, Tyler, if we can win that, Playmore's back in the championship. So, at max, 2 more battles. But I hope everyone's excited at least for 1 more battle. It's all on the line. Do or die. Put it in your calendars or click right here. Playmore is ready for our first trophy. 2 more battles.